In all these live-action Peter Pan adaptations, they always do something weird with music, and I don't get it. Welcome back, Disney fans, to my review of Peter Pan and Wendy. This live-action Disney reimagining or remake has been a long time coming. And while it probably should have been a theatrical release, it is right now available today for your viewing pleasure on Disney+, telling the classic story of Peter Pan, the boy who refuses to grow up, as he takes Wendy Darling, a young girl afraid to leave her childhood home, alongside her brothers and Tinkerbell. They travel with Peter to the magical world of Neverland, where together they encounter the evil pirate Captain Hook, embarking on a never-ending, thrilling adventure. And as a frame of reference, I want to address the elephant in the room. I like most of the Disney live-action remakes to different degrees. There are certainly really bad ones, but there are some that I quite enjoyed. David Lowery, who directs Peter Pan and Wendy, has directed one of the live-action remakes I think is superior to the original. And while I certainly don't think Peter Pan and Wendy is the best live-action version of the Peter Pan story, that distinction still belongs to Hook.
You lewd, crude, rude bag of pre-chewed food, dude.
It also doesn't feel right to me to call this one a remake. This feels like a reimagining. This feels like it's taking the ideas and the familiarity that we have with this story's timeless magic, for lack of a better term, and really expands on a lot of the ideas, the concepts, and the themes, and explores them in a very different way, in a very David Lowery way. He has this knack for bringing fantasy fables and stories to life in a way that feels deconstructive and that really analyzes, questions the characters within those stories with real depth, with real significance. He is a filmmaker with such a unique voice, and he always uses that voice to say something interesting about the stories he is telling, in the way he's telling them. Peter Pan and Wendy is very much a passion project for him, and you can tell in the way he brings these characters to life, in the way he brings the legend of Neverland to life, and the character dynamics work in very interesting ways, in ways that are different enough from the original while keeping that timelessness, while keeping the things we like about Peter Pan, the things we like about Captain Hook, the things we like about the Lost Boys. But he adds these dark, compelling layers to timeless stories we all know so well, such as Peter Pan, Pete's Dragon, The Green Knight, and he makes the journey feel wholly intriguing in refreshing new ways with his tackling of the themes, the iconography, the characters, and their motivations. He sprinkles in something really special throughout his entire filmography, whether he's doing studio projects or his own original projects. And while Peter Pan and Wendy certainly has familiarity with all the iconography, with its structure and all that, there are deeper levels that this film is allowed to tackle with its characters and the conflict, particularly between Peter Pan and Hook. Apart from Steven Spielberg's classic Hook, this is genuinely my favorite on-screen version of the iconic duo, as David Lowery brings the wonder, the whimsy with Peter, the campiness with Hook, but there's a real sense of grimace. There's this dark edge lingering through the whole thing that not only adds suspense to how the adventure play out and certain story turns, but it offers something different to their dynamic. Peter's brash personality, friendliness, and fearlessness throughout the film constantly feel like a personal attack on Hook, which you feel because of Jude Law's awesome performance. He knows when to be silly, he knows when to be calm, he knows when to be sinister, but he makes Hook a real tragic character that is very compelling to watch, particularly as he creates this dynamic with Wendy through the film, which I thought was well played, but Wendy feels too passive a character for most of the film. It's something they eventually somewhat fix, but for most of the film, I thought she was there to hear both sides out and feel more like an intermediary, which fits the kind of story the film is telling, but it also stifles Ever Anderson's performance for most of the film. She does get great moments in the third act. The entire film has striking visuals and is filled with wondrous moments. You are transported to Neverland. The journey there feels immersive and memorable. You do feel this sense of grandeur as you travel from the normal world into the fantastical, into the magical world where you never need to grow up. And that is one of the most powerful things about the Peter Pan story is really what comes with that. Is it all that it's cut out to be? Or is there a darkness in there? Is there a sadness in always wanting to remain a child? And David Lowery tackles that really well in this film. I don't know that goes as deep as it should have, as it could have. There are moments in this film where you definitely feel they wanted in the script to go deeper, but this film is 100 minutes long with credits. And they should have gone for 2 hours. They should have gone for 2 hours, 10 minutes, which they definitely would have if this was a theatrical release. And that is my biggest issue with this film. Despite the wonderful visuals, despite the spectacular set pieces, there is one sequence in the third act of this film that is awesome. It is everything you want from a Peter Pan film with characters, from a character, story, thematic, action standpoint. It is incredible. But because the runtime feels cut so short, that's my biggest issue with the film and everything that comes with that because the story's pacing at points feels uneven. It feels like these big conversations that are significant story turns, these certain reveals that really enlighten the perspective of certain characters and ours could have used a little bit more time to breathe, could have used bigger moments to emotionally linger with characters. And honestly, this film could have used flashbacks. There are two particular instances where we learn something, and flashbacks would have elevated these moments, would have made them more emotionally potent. And it's not like they lack emotion completely, but I just don't think they reach its full potential because this film was cut short to be on Disney Plus. And a film with such spectacular visuals, where despite colors being somewhat muted, it worked for me. Where the film was going, tonally, it fits, and there's certainly more color added as the film goes along. It feels brighter, it feels lively, but I understand it won't work for everyone. It felt the thematics that are there that are powerful and the tone that is so intriguing, and there's a real threat to the villain despite him being so fun. There was just more it could have done. I think this is quite a good reimagining. Despite some tweaks I could have done to the script, despite elaborating on certain conflicts, on certain emotions of the characters, I think it does a really good job at bringing a brand new version of this story for a new generation, really doing its own thing completely by the end, where characters don't necessarily follow the same arcs, where the original Peter Pan doesn't really have arcs for most of its characters. There's still a sense of familiarity to the things that made us fall in love with this story in the first place. And on top of the outright magical visuals, exciting, grandiose set pieces, and all the iconic characters and locations. We have the Lost Boys. We have Tiger Lily finally played by a Native American actress. We have Daniel Hart's score, which is fantastic. If you know me, you know I'm a score guy, and he takes what made that Peter Pan original so classic, so timeless, and he does something truly special with it. He goes really hard on the score, and there are weird instances where his fantastic score is exchanged for classical music for Captain Hook's character. That's his leitmotif, which is so weird. In all these live action Peter Pan adaptations, they always do something weird with music. And I don't get it. There are original songs in this film that like the pirates sing, and that's cool. That gives them personality. That makes them stand out. That dynamic is really fun. It's really camp. But the use of classical music for Captain Hook, it just feels strange to me, especially when the score is so freaking good. So as I dive into my final thoughts on Peter Pan and Wendy, it's time for the fun part where you start the conversation in the comments below. Let me know what is your favorite version of Peter Pan, whether it's in movies, books, TV shows, live action, animated, anything and everything down there. And if you want to talk more Disney live action reimaginings or more movies and TV, this is the place to be. Consider clicking that subscribe button and you won't miss any future conversations on your favorite movies and TV. Peter Pan and Wendy is a whimsical yet traditionally Lowery take on the familiar tale. This darkly nuanced fable on the legend of Neverland finds richer depth in its characters, with Jude Law's tragic Hook being as fearsome as he is empathetic. It's classic Disney magic via David Lowery artistry. I'm giving Peter Pan and Wendy a B. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to let me know your favorite version of Peter Pan in the comments below. And if you want to talk more Disney live action remakes, I reviewed a ton of them and I have many unpopular opinions, so you're sure to enjoy those videos. Big shout out to my channel members for always supporting the channel, and I'll be back very soon with more. So until the next one, love each other and love the movies.